But I mean, when it comes to, I mean, yes, we note the point that the Downing Street has had to deny the fact that it is contemplating conscription, but at the same time we had the head of the British Army saying, look, we need to effectively double it in size. Now, of course, the military top brass always bang the drum for spending in their department, but quite clearly we are living in a more volatile situation than we have been for a very long time indeed. I mean, it's been said that, you know, the baby boomers, that's people like me, were the lucky ones in that we've had this long period from the Second World War until potentially now or the near future when there've been lots of wars all over the place, but there hasn't been a biggie in Europe. So we've sort of felt we've accepted peace as being the norm. But it might not be. And, you know...
Well, the fact is, as you said, baby boomers, our parents fought in the war, and it may well be that our children have to.
Yes, I mean, that is the fear. Although I would make the point that it's all about Putin. And, I mean, the extraordinary thing about that man is that when he first became the president of Russia, he was quite a Western friendly, he was quite a cool dude, yeah? But then the point also has to be made that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And he's turned into this monster for which I would argue that probably the very first and wisest step would be to make good and sure he does not win in Ukraine, because that would sort of effectively put him back in his box. And what we've seen, particularly with the problem in the Middle East, that attention has kind of wavered away from the Ukrainian situation, and you know the weapons that have been promised haven't necessarily been delivered, and it's all slowed down. It's all got a bit, oh yeah, well, whatever. But the fact is, it is absolutely essential that we make good and sure, no matter how much it costs, that Russia loses that war.
But it begs the question then, why has it been deemed necessary for the US to move nuclear weapons back over here? Is it a show of force rather than anything else? Because, I mean, if we were going to launch a nuclear strike, and God forbid we ever do, it's not as if we haven't got weapons here of our own.
Very true, but yes, I think it is clearly designed as a signal, as an early warning signal to President Putin, which is the fact, look, you know, if you want to play the game, we can too, and we can do it. We've got, you know, we can do it every word as powerfully as you can, so just suck it up, man. And I mean, his immediate response is, of course, this is an escalation. Well, I mean, you know, you can always rely on Putin. Whatever he says, the reverse is the case.
Yeah.
And it's important, isn't it, to also show that we are hand in hand with the Americans.
Yes, indeed so. And there, of course, that opens another whole can of worms because of the fact we have a Biden administration at present, but by the end of this year, it is quite within the bounds of possibility we'll have a Trump administration, which will be very much harder to predict. I mean, you look at his track record, and he's facing, I think, about 90 different criminal charges or whatever. And indeed, he's just had to shell out for this woman that he defamed. What would he do when he was in office? Would he stand foursquare behind NATO, or would he just turn his back? I mean, you've got to remember that, you know, at the end of in the Second World War, the Americans didn't get involved until the Japanese blew up Pearl Harbor. So, you know, I mean, from their point of view, I can see they're thinking, look, if these guys in Europe want to squabble, that's their problem, not ours.
Yeah. OK, Peter, thanks very much indeed. Well, talking, as Peter mentioned, Donald Trump is in hot water because he has been ordered to pay $83 million, £65.5 million in damages for defaming former columnist E. Jean Carroll.
Now, she accused him of destroying her reputation after he denied that he allegedly raped her nearly 3 decades ago.
Well, Mr. Trump said he fully disagrees with the verdicts and will be appealing, calling it a Biden-directed witch hunt.
So we're now joined by a former Trump associate. Well, I think still a Trump associate, because you were at dinner on Christmas Eve, I think, at Mar-a-Lago. Roger Giwob, morning.
Good morning.
This is an astonishingly huge amount of money, but is it going to stop him in his tracks?
No, not at all. I mean, it's 10 times more what she asked for in her lawsuit. It is, America is divided as we are, and this is the other side meting out punishment and trying to stop him. But it's not going to stop him. There have been all sorts of articles recently written about Ms. Carroll, that she has accused quite a few men of raping her, that evidence wasn't allowed to be introduced at the trial before. All kinds of stories about her clips about her appearing on CNN saying rape is sexy, and all sorts of very strange...
He wasn't charged with rape. That wasn't about the rape or the alleged rape. This is about him calling her a liar.
Well, no. It's last year is when that happened, and this is about being called a liar and defamation. And yesterday's judgment really was only about the level of damages. And it's quite ridiculous. It's the same as what they did to Giuliani, finding him $150 million. Litigation is quite different in the United States than here.
Well, it's political.
It's political. The first thing you do in America is throw your lawyer at somebody. Here, we have litigation, particularly criminal litigation. People go, oh my God, this is really... It's taken rather more lightly there. And of course, in the other cases, this is a civil case, but in the others, those are criminal charges, and they have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And, everybody feels, well, pretty much everybody feels there's enough evidence out there about the election and other things that it would be very hard for a jury to find beyond a reasonable doubt, unless you're in a big, typically Democratic city, which is, very left, as most American Democratic cities are.
Can I ask you about what Peter was talking about?
Sure.
Because this idea that, heaven knows what's happening with Putin, and the idea that Trump, if he gets back into the White House, is unpredictable. I think that's a valid point. But could we see a situation where someone like Trump would actually take himself off to Moscow, cozy up to Putin a little bit in order to calm this down? Or is he more likely to be more threatening?
Well, I think there's two things you're raising there. The first is his unpredictability. Now, I don't know him well, but I've met him a few times. He is certainly not unpredictable. I think he creates a persona to play to some of his electorate, but he's as sharp as a 50-year-old. He's very strategic, very intelligent, not somebody to mess with, that's for sure. I don't see him unpredictably hitting buttons, or he's too smart for that. And yeah, he might very well go speak to Putin and have a man-to-man conversation, two tough guys, and say, you better be careful, mate. That's very possible.
And what about these nuclear warheads being brought, the American nuclear warheads being brought back to Britain? Is he more likely to reverse that whole idea and just pull them back and say, we are not the world's police? Because he said that before, hasn't he?
He has said that before, but I don't see that happening, and I agree with what you and Peter have said, that I think they were brought here as a statement, not to mess with us, and that if you want to play this game, we can play this game, just like the destroyers that were brought over. No, I think that if Putin were to escalate this, Trump would be probably, among all the possible candidates for president, the best solution that we could have. I was in America, as I say, and met with him recently, and spoke to a number of geopolitical experts, both on the Biden side and the Trump side, and they were all unanimously agreed, these serious geopolitical people, that Putin is behind all of this, that he's orchestrating Iran, China, Hezbollah, Hamas, the whole thing, because number one, obviously he wants to restore Mother Russia to her former glory, and number two, as he has stated, he wants to rid the West of its, quote, satanic, unquote, ways. So he really is aligned with the Iranian mullahs in that, strangely enough.
It's a very odd thing to say, isn't it? Roger, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Right.